Yes, the most terrifying man in the cruiserweight division, an absolute beast in the ring and a superstar in the making. This is the Australian animal Jai Opetaia, and here is why his ability is putting the world on notice. Strap in! Yes, he's been making some serious waves. The feared and revered Jai Opetaia is the current Ring Magazine champion and former IBF world champion. Former because the IBF are a bit fug life, ain't they? They said dance to our tune or just fuck off. And yes, they've unfortunately stripped him for taking the brilliant opportunity out in Saudi. But best believe his sole intentions are to gobble up all of them belts in double quick time. And regardless, nothing can be taken away from the statement this man has already made. So then he's best known for ripping the IBF belt away from the well-schooled Mairis Briedis, remarkably breaking his jaw on both sides in the 2nd and 6th round, but still pulling off a brutal display to go down in the history books. But then again, that was the easy part. The hard part was doing the fucking interviews afterwards.
What's this mean to you?
I've done it, man, eh? Been through it, bro. Behind the hands, we've been through the hip, bro. Fuck. Paying off.
Bloody hell, the old media all up in his grill. Give him a break, will you? The man standing there with his fucking mouth hanging off. He went, can you lot huck off? I gotta go see a fucking doctor. I look like a rat hunt. Anyway, yes, so where did this ability and the brutality derive from? Well, let me take you all the way back to the early 2000s in little old Sydney, Australia. Yes, good day, mate. Here we go. So the young Opetaia first laced up gloves to fight at just 8 years old. Even by this age, he knew boxing and simply nothing else. His grandfathers all competed as fighters, whilst his dad and uncles were all actively fighting during Jai's youth as well. And as many kids go through the uncertainty of what they want to be when they grow up, Jai at just 10 years old knew he wanted to be nothing else other than a boxing great. He told his mother his goal was to compete in the Olympics as soon as possible, so Father Tap set about making this a reality. He put together a seriously intense training regime for young Jai, and he wasn't allowed to do anything until the boxing and the gym work was completed. In his own words, he said when friends came over to hang out, Dad would make them all train. And it got to the point where his mate said, fuck that, I ain't going over there anymore. But this isolation was hugely beneficial as his talent began to shine. Throughout his teenage years, the sport for him was a complete obsession. It was a constant grind of training and fighting on the amateur circuit, in which he racked up a CV of over 130 fights, making the Australian Olympic team at a mere 16 years old, and winning the World Junior Championships that same year. Now the schoolboy was regularly fighting grown men, which enhanced his mental strength dramatically. And you're probably thinking, if I was a grown man facing a 16-year-old, that sounds like a piece of piss to me. But yeah, this is Opetaia at 16. He looks harder than a fucking brick, doesn't he? Anyway, after collecting an array of amateur titles across the world scene, Jai decided it was time to take on the big boys. So in 2015, just 20 years of age, he turned his attention to the pro ranks, making his debut on the undercard of Parker against Topu. Bloody hell, remember old Topu, blimey, yeah. He used to get in the ring and think he was a fucking spider. Here he goes. It's fucking tarantula time, here I come, Parker, me old son. Hope you ain't got arachnofucking phobia, bruv. Look lively and... well, never mind. Blow the cobwebs off and go again, Topu, me old China. Anyway, yes, it was a solid UD win for Opetaia, followed by a knockout a couple of weeks later. But then, in his third fight, Jai broke his hand in the 2nd round. All the mental strength that he had attained from his youth came to fruition as he fought through the whole 10 rounds to win by decision. But the hand caused multiple problems in training the following months, to the point where he could no longer throw a left. So in the end, he had to bite the bullet and shell out a whopping 12 grand for surgery to save his boxing career. I'll tell you what, he should have come over here and got it done on the NHS for free. He'd have only been waiting about a fucking decade. But yes, it turned out to be a crucial move, because upon recovery, the knockouts just kept on coming. An incredible 13 KOs in a row followed, 10 of which never made it past the 3rd round. He was fighting nearly all his bouts in Australia, so he was relatively sheltered from the mainstream boxing scene, a long way from the global promotional outfits. But of course, that would soon change. It was coming to the point where he could no longer be ignored. So just briefly, why then is he such a force in the ring? Well, the southpaw stance poses obvious problems, but the speed in the movement is that of a welterweight. Combine that with his crushing power, his toughness and will to win, and it really is the recipe for a champion. But in my opinion, there's one more thing that goes very much under the radar. Let's not forget, his presence. Because when you're in a face-off and you stand opposite a bloke looking at you like this, you can't help but think, oh, I'm fucked here, and I. And yes, you certainly are. Mike Tyson also had this attribute back in his heyday. It's an aura that almost defeats opponents before the fight even starts. As the saying goes, the eyes tell us everything. So then from July 2016, after finishing every single one of his opponents inside the distance except for one, it was time for his world title opportunity against the supremely tough Briedis. Now it really does need to be noted just how good the Briedis win actually is. This is a man who narrowly lost to Usyk. Usyk of course went on to become the unified heavyweight champion, and some even thought Briedis won that fight. But along with this, the difficulties he endured surrounding the fight are what makes it such a great feat for young Jai. A separated rib in sparring stalled the fight and required speedy surgery. Then the repair had to be completed with a rapid 3-month turnaround. But even more unfortunate was that Jai, a very close family man, had to suffer the sad loss of his grandmother just days before the fight. This hit him really hard, and he was devastated to not even be able to attend the funeral. Then, during the actual fight, as we know, he endured the monumental pain of a broken jaw on both sides, the first side being broken in only the second round, allowing Briedis to still pepper the jaw the remainder of the fight. So to go through all that and still convincingly win the title, it really does show that this man is made of something different.
It was not an option. Not getting off the stool, not finishing the fight, didn't cross my mind. It was a goal we set, and it was something that I was going to do.
And after this, it was no surprise that Frank Warren's new best mate, old Edward, started sniffing about. He said, hello, Jai, good day, mate. You fancy a bit of fucking matchroom? And deservedly so for Jai. Eddie has finally given him the platform he's very much earned, with Matchroom and DAZN. Now, after a layoff recovering from the jaw injury, Jai was set to return to the ring at the back end of 2023. First of all, the Masternak fight was ordered, but he pulled out. So with Richard Riakporhe next in line for the IBF mandatory position, that fight was then ordered. Richard had done his time, he deserved his attempt at world title glory. There was of course difficulty reaching an agreement, but the purse bids came along to save the day. However, yeah. So just hours before, Ben Shalom and Richard Riakporhe withdrew. Benny Boy says it was done for the good of his fighter, and Richard had a better opportunity in the pipeline. He weren't wrong, because a couple of months later he went on to fight Dylan Breguion. Fucking brilliant. And he knocked him out in 2 rounds. Buzzing.
Masternak shit himself. Richard Riakporhe, I won't say the same because I like him, but he also went to the toilet.
Yeah, so there's a lot of politics surrounding this situation, but as Edward says, it does sort of seem like they bottled it. Ben pulled Riakporhe out just like he did to Fraser with the Fabio Wardley purse bids, so it's not a very good look once again. Maybe he did have bigger plans. Maybe he didn't want his man fighting on another platform. Or maybe he just didn't want him losing. I reckon Riakporhe's got the nuts to step up to the plate one day, but he and Ben know full well they are going up against an absolute animal. Whatever the reasons were behind this, the fans will probably never know. However, for the record, if the shoe was on the other foot and Riakporhe held the IBF belt, then Opetaia was ordered to fight him, do you think Jai or his promotion would have pulled out of purse bids to fight Breguion? Abso-fucking-lutely not. Anyway, so Jai went on to face the very credible Jordan Thompson, who showed massive bollocks, double well done, but it turned out to be a vicious destruction that only lasted 4 rounds. And Ben probably watched it at home thinking, fucking hell, I made a good decision there, bruv, high five Ricardo, me old son. Then upon receiving the chance of a lifetime out in Saudi on the day of reckoning, although somewhat unfairly being stripped of his belt, he once again showed how exceptional he really is by destroying the very game Ellis Zorro in 1 round. And here we are. So then, yes, the hype is well and truly justified with this 28-year-old superstar. He's been moulded by his brilliant father, who stands in his corner to this very day. The big question is, will he take on the monumental task of moving up to heavyweight like the brilliant Usyk did? We shall see. But either way, before that, this man is on a journey to pick off all the belts in the cruiserweight division, and nobody, and I mean nobody, is safe from him. The thing is, they all know it as well. So big up the Opetaia double legend, and don't forget people to embrace your masculine heritage with the epic salient superfood blend Athanase, specially formulated for men to support male health in a multitude of ways. Use my code in the description for a cheeky discount, you'll bloody love it. Ta-ra for now, and bosh.